Before we continue on, I wanted to point out, if you have a Chromebook at home, up here, you might have this little icon that kind of looks like maybe like two iPhones next to each other, and it's called Duelist. If you click on that icon, it will give you options to make two different windows open. So I like to use this one. So this will give you the chance to have the video on one side and then to work on Scratch on the other side. So that is completely up to you. And then you can use this button up at the top to make your screen larger and then make it smaller to watch the video. So that tool is really helpful. If you do not have that tool, you can always, let me show you. You can always just pull off one of your tabs, and then you'll just have to work to move it around and change the size so that you can have two screens open at the same time. So that's not necessary. You can have the video open in one tab and work on your Scratch in the other tab. That's completely up to you, but that's just a little helpful tool that I like to use. And again, it looks like two iPhones next to each other, and it'll help you split your screen. Okay, so I took some time to do a little bit of coloring. Yours probably is going to look a lot better than mine because you are much more creative. And I'm going to go ahead back to my work project slides. So I'm going to click on code, and it will keep my backdrop in this space right here. And now I need to add a character, which again we call sprite. So if I hover over this little option right here, it's going to let me select a sprite. I'm going to click on the magnifying glass, and I'm going to choose someone that will be visiting my park to ride on this water slide. Let's see here. There are tons and tons of options. Oh, this will be fun. I'm going to have a mermaid visit my water park. So once your character comes onto the screen, you'll see that usually they're not the size that you want them to be. So make sure that your character is outlined in blue. That will let you make changes to it. And I'm going to change their size. I'm going to try cutting it by 50, and we'll see. Oh, that's a pretty good size, maybe a little bit smaller. Try 35, like that size. Okay, so I'm going to take my sprite and I'm going to move them down here towards the bottom. And I'm going to start building some code. So for the code that I'm going to make right now, it's going to be code that controls my arrow keys on my screen. So over here is where I have my different options for building code. I'm going to be going to my events, and I'm going to pull out 4 of the second code block. It says when space key pressed. So I'm going to pull out 4 of those. And I'm going to set them up kind of like north, south, east, and west, but it's going to be representing my arrow keys. So take your time in this part so you don't miss any of them, but the one that's on top is going to be my up arrow. The one on the bottom is going to be my down arrow. The one to the right is going to be my right arrow, and the one to my left is going to be my left arrow. So after I have those pulled out, right now it's just saying that I'm going to be using my arrow keys, but when I push them, nothing actually happens. So I'm going to go up to my top block menu, which is motion. So for motion, I'm going to need to go down and pay attention to this because they're very similar. And I'm going to pull out 2 that say change X by. And X has to do with coordinate graphing, which you will definitely learn in 5th grade. So I'm going to pull out an X for the top and the X for the bottom. Oh, I'm sorry. An X for the left and an X for the right. So to go to the right is going to be a positive 10, but to go to the left is going to be negative 10. Then you're going to add change Y by to your up and down arrows. And the bottom one, you're going to put a minus sign to make it a negative 10. So now when you start pushing on your arrow buttons, you should see that your sprite moves up, down, left, and right by using your arrow keys.